Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we are ready to start. I would like to welcome you, your friends, my friends, and all the people who aren't really here in a corporeal sense to Sacred Grounds, the longest running poetry open mic that we know of in the known and unknown universe. Fine poetry and good food since 1972. The first thing is giving our hosts, Teddy and Fiona, a round of applause. So please, don't harm the mic. Tonight's feature, we do not have any feature this evening. Jean-Marie Spicuzza, star of stage, screen, and foreign films, will be back, I think, in November. Film she was working on, they had a delay. And she was willing to drive up here from Santa Barbara, all the way up here, do this reading, and go all the way back. And I said, wait a minute, that's kind of silly. And besides, I think it's going to rain. So she decided, okay, thank you so much, I'll rearrange, and she will rearrange. Mr. Natural, who was here just a second ago, is responsible for the streaming, so just so your people out there are watching, you can say, I know who did that. If you have a cell phone, like I know I do, now's the time to take it and go like this and wait for it to make that annoying noise which says, yes, I'm turned off. So do that please kindly so it doesn't, or put it on vibrate and get excited later on. Let's see, cell phones, Mr. Natural, the keynote. Who is the keynote tonight? Oh, Al Nightingale, but he might not be here because he has a hard time getting around. So, and then of course Richard Sandero is going to be our mini at the end, which may be coming sooner than we think.
Yeah, we got a sparse crowd here tonight.
It's a sparse crowd, so I probably just do the whole thing in one fell swoop, or one swell poop, as my mom used to call it. All right. I will introduce you to the fabulous prizes of the evening. I think that's next, fabulous prizes. If you've never read Marge Piercy, here is your chance to read Marge Piercy, Summer People. She's a great poet. I haven't read this, but I've read her poems. Itching for Combat, Gary Hicks, who actually did a feature here some time ago, but this is an older book of his from some years ago. Good poet. J. Tony Serra. Anybody know that name? J. Tony Serra. Well, here's a book of his, Prison Chronicles, Grizzly Peak Press, and it's all about. Well, the title, the chapter titles give you the clues here. Let me see if I can find that. T-O-C. Oh, it's signed.
Wow.
So someone gave this to me. I can't remember. Who's he? William. Oh, okay. Well, I can't. There's lots of little chapter things in here. Malingering Madness, The Last Vestiges of Sentiment, Thanksgiving at Prison Camp, My Prison Camp Hands, Breakfast in Prison, When a Door Closes, a Window Opens, Anomalies, Fortunate Sharing, The Coffee Catalyst, I See No Cats on Prison Grounds, Prisoners, Conformity, Interference, Self-Segregation. So it's all about the justice system and the harder aspects. Now this weighty tome, it's an original anthology of insightful poets edited by Alan Jacobs, Poetry for the Spirit. I read some of the things in here, and someone gave this to me, so there's a lot of really good pieces in here. There's classics like by John Donne, and you got Richard Crenshaw, and Christopher Smart, William Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Shelley, and then, you know, people that are in the more modern times, Harold Monroe, Theodore Roethke, and like that. So a lot of good things in here, which would be worthwhile. Then, of course, if you don't want any of those, you can either decide to do the keynote or the mini feature if you're coming next week. And you'll see at least the mini tonight. The keynote is not here yet. Light condom is on. Is there anything else that I need to do? Oh, yes. Yeah, we did that. Oh, if you want to get the email, you put your name and email address there, just so you know. That comes in any time. If you read a poem by someone else, I'll hand you this card, a blank card, and you put your name, the poet's name, the name of the poem. So when I write things up, I don't just always write Charge of the Light Brigade, Scarlet Getty, 1973. And people go, he didn't write that. I go, I'm just guessing. And so like that. All right. Let's see if there's anything else that I got to do here. Oh, yes. Marlon Brando will not be here. Oh. He sent his regrets and his left thumb. So,
I had a calling film.
yeah. So since if Al Nightingale shows up, we'll give him a chance to do a keynote. He was keen on the keynote. But barring that, I figure since we have such a sparse crowd, we can go like 6 minutes or a little more than that. So adjust your scout calendars and your stopwatches accordingly. And we will begin. Now let's just see. The first 5 people up. Clyde, Owen, and then RGESH. That's you, yes? Okay. Then Pam, then Stephanie, then me, Raven, and Wendy will probably come back, we think, because maybe if she comes back, she says she wants to solicit. All right. And now, before your very astonished eyes, or even non-astonished eyes, the Clyde Aldrich Show will kick us off with a generous proportion of this man's animated virtuosity.
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue à Californie. Je suis le oufo de la cour. Et je m'appelle Clyde Dijon. Enchanté, mes amis. Et je te présente un hommage à Lewis Carroll. The sun was shining on the sea, was shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd because, it was the middle of the night. The moon was shining sulkily because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. It's very rude of him, she said, to come and spoil the fun. The sea was wet as wet could be. The sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead. There were no birds to fly. The walrus and the carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If only this were cleared away, they said it would be grand. Here's 7 maids with 7 mops swept it for half a year. Do you suppose, the walrus said, that they could get it clear? I doubt it, said the carpenter, and shed a bitter tear. Oh, oysters, come walk with us, the walrus did beseech. A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk along the briny beach. We cannot do with more than 4 to give a hand to each. The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed. But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for their treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd because, they hadn't any feet. 4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4, and thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore. The walrus and the carpenter walked on a mile or so, and then they rested on a rock conveniently low. And all the little oysters stood and waited in a row. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. But wait a bit, the oysters cried, before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath, and all of us are fat. No hurry, said the carpenter. They thanked him much for that. A loaf of bread, the walrus said. is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar beside are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed. But not on us, the oysters cried, turning a little blue. After such kindness, that would be a dismal thing to do. A night is fine, the walrus said. Do you admire the view? Oh, it was so kind of you to come. And you are very nice. The carpenter said nothing but, cut us another slice. I wish you were not quite so deaf. I've had to ask you twice. It seems a shame, the walrus said, to play them such a trick after we brought them out so far and made them trot so quick. The